What's up, Ride Warriors? Danny Miller back playing Planet Coaster again today. Last time we placed lots of benches and trash bins along our main Midway and sort of our facility paths, our restroom and guest services paths. So we're coming along nicely as far as that goes. So I think what I want to do today is continue with the lighting. Because the food building I think is lit up very well. The gift shop is lit up reasonably well. I'm not sure if there's more lighting to be done on the gift shop or not, but I think a lot of that is going to depend sort of on where we put some of these lights. So, I think I'm going to edit the main entrance, and I'm going to attempt to make these things part of our main entrance. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the lighting to 10 p.m. so we can see the actual lights that these things are giving off. And I mentioned last time that I wasn't really going to use sort of these type lights because I thought having the park name and everything on every single light was a little bit overkill. So, you know, we'd have sort of these type things here. And what I'm struggling with at this point is the fact that I talked about using these iron square lampposts. And the one problem I discovered with those is, number one, it gives off like this orangey flame, which isn't really a bad thing. It sort of clashes with the yellowish lights that everything else sort of has. You know, again, which isn't an awful thing. But I found out that they're not paintable, so they're this weird, like, blackish gray color. So I'm not sure and they're quite tall, so I'm not sure that I'm completely feeling these anymore. And then these are slightly, and they're quite tall. These are quite a bit shorter. So I think I've actually sort of gone back against what I said earlier. And I think I'm actually going to use this classical lamppost with sign that I said I wasn't going to use because I thought it would be obnoxious. And I think it still might be obnoxious, but I think we're going to give it a shot. So let's first paint these to the correct colors. So the lamppost needs to be 153106. That's the correct green. This second color needs to be B39E5A. My keyboard light isn't on. And then this last one needs to be that, because that's the light color. Perfect. And we're not going to be able to, I don't think we're actually able to check off or edit that text until later. So I think what we'll do is we'll place them for where the lighting is needed, and then we'll sort of decide as we go what we want them to say, or if we want them to say anything. And they've got this little heart design. This is from the World's Fair pack, so it's not necessarily a lighting type that I think you would have if you don't have the expansions. But we'll give it a shot here. All right. So I'm going to place this sort of on the corner here. Again, these are very tall, so they're going to light up a fair amount, and they're sort of the dome style, so they're going to light up a fair bit of area. And then I'm going to do an advanced duplicate and move, and just slide it on over right into that same sort of cutout. Go to first person, and I'm going to be doing a lot of back and forth to try and make things symmetric again, just to sort of judge where these things need to be, and those paths aren't completely symmetric, but we'll go with that. I think. Let's see here. Yeah, and this is one of the things with the path building. The path building is a little odd, and it's just not quite it's not quite perfect. I mean, it's very good and it lets you do just about anything you want, but it's not quite perfect. I think we'll probably put some sidewalk lighting of some sort maybe along the back there. I don't want to have anything sticking up because then it's gonna sort of ruin that very nice view that we had last time. One thing I do want to look at while I'm doing this is these sidewalk lights, these square lamp, and these are colorable. So I guess the real question at this point is when I do these square lamps, if I have aligned it, it's not wanting to place them. Are they snapping somewhere? Oh, it's trying to place them on the grid. I don't know what's going on. There we go. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so these are colorable. So I think if just to see what it's actually changing the color of. Yeah, so that's the actual lamp itself. So we could make that this dark green, if those lampposts are, and they'll sort of blend in. And then we can make the light sort of that yellowish color. So we can do this, and I think we're going to do this maybe at some point, just to sort of lessen the burden on just relying on this one style of lamppost. I mean, we could put these sort of in our flower beds, and they would sort of light up the flower beds nicely. It's very subdued lighting, and it looks quite good. So there's certainly some options as far as that goes there. I kind of wish that we could just put them in the corners here. Or we could put an entire set of them along here. That would actually look quite interesting, and I almost considered maybe putting them along here somehow, because those fit quite nicely there, but then they block sort of what we did with the bush, and these don't look very classic. They don't look very classic 80s to bring up the theme that I think I'm abiding to, but haven't really brought up very much because I'm just going for sort of a classic looking park. So maybe we won't use these so much, but we could potentially in a pinch. Even the old style lamppost is probably a better idea still. Spooky lamppost. See, like these look okay, but again, it's not paintable. So I got that weird orange light that I'm not really a big fan of. So ultimately, I go back to this, which again I still think looks really nice, and it gives off a nice bit of lighting. And then we've got lighting coming off of the buildings here, so it's not like absolutely necessary that we have more lights along here. So I think we definitely do want a light. I think we definitely do want a lamppost right about here. Again, trying to get as close as I can to like bird's eye view. And put it as close to the corner as I can. Advanced duplicate and move. We'll slide it over here-ish, and we'll get it as close as we can, sort of to the edge. Fantastic. So let's see how that's kind of looking and see what we think about that. Yeah, I think that's good, because now when you're coming down Blue Fir Boulevard, that light is still sort of lighting up the pathway, but it's not in an obnoxious sense, I don't think, because you're not going to see that sign from way back there. And, the lighting along here isn't bad either. I mean, the lighting from the buildings is really sort of lighting this up, and it's not in an overly abundant way. I'm kind of starting to think that maybe I need some lights on those columns. I think the gift shop, did we put them on the front of the gift shop? No, we didn't. I'm kind of thinking that maybe we need to put some along the gift shop, though, to sort of do some things there. I think the next place that I want to put one of these lights is, I think I actually want to put one See, I don't want it to interfere with the tree that I've plunked down in this area. Let's get to, again, close to bird's eye view. It's going to be very, very close to that tree, isn't it? See, this is the problem with where I've put these trees. If I put that, the lamppost is sort of interfering with the tree. I mean, it's lighting up the tree nicely, but it's sort of, the tree is sort of wrapping around it, which I don't know if I like or not. Let's place it, and let's sort of step away and see what we think. I mean, it's got sort of that classic-y look to it. I'm just thinking that maybe these lampposts are better placed on the corners, because they're not going to interfere with the trees there. So I think maybe that's the better placement for them, is to sort of put them in this sort of way. I'm gonna go in the corner there. See there, it's not interfering with the tree right there, so I feel a little bit better about that from just a realism standpoint. Let's zoom in here and let's make sure that that one's in the same approximate area. Looks good there. So let's do a shift click. Nope. There we go. Okay, so let's do a shift click. And now we're duplicating and moving both of them. And do our best to get everything in the frame here. And I can put those sort of there, and if we come down here, that should be placed, again, the paths not being quite symmetric the way that they get built, but pretty close. I kind of need to move that down just a little bit. And now it's my OCD is going to hate the fact that those things are not placed symmetrically, perhaps. But I mean visually it looks like they are. So I think I can kind of live with it. The lighting looks symmetric and everything, so I think I can sort of live with that. So now here is the predicament. Do we have those four there? We can't really put them here because they're interfering with the trees. So I guess the question is, are we better off putting lights in between the two trees and not having this area lit up maybe as much? I don't know. Okay, I think I have the answer to this. So we've got these two. Let's advance, duplicate, and move these two. And let's move them so that they are here. And the reason I'm going to do this I think that's close enough. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I'm actually going to get rid of these two. I'm going to get rid of these two. I'll show you why in a minute. So I'm going to advance, duplicate, and move these two, and I'm going to move them over here. Which I think is generally slightly more appropriate. Yeah, for some reason they're not placed quite where I need them to be for them to look perfect just by doing the advanced duplicate. So And I'm not at a complete bird's eye view either anyways, but okay, so I think that's pretty decent right there. So now we've got those corners lit up, and I think to get a true look of this, let's go to 11 p.m. I don't think it gets any darker. I think this is dark as it goes. The reason that I like those there now is because I'm actually going to see it gives off some lighting here, and it lights up the trees in enough of a way that you can see these things here. And the ambient lighting from the buildings is certainly enough to see everything. But I think what I want to do, number one, I want to hide those a little bit so that when you're looking down here, you're not just bombarded with these old-style lampposts that have the labels on them, you know, and then you see some here. You see 2 here, you don't see all 4 because the other ones are hidden. So you're never going to see more than a couple of these at a given time. But what I do want to do is I want to place a couple of them in between the trees, sort of lined up with the bench, sort of in between the 2 benches. And I'm realizing something with where these benches are placed, that they're not in the sort of the gap where the trees are. Which, again, from an OCD standpoint, is going to present a bit of a challenge. I mean, these are, because it's just a rectangle. So let's start with these first, and then maybe I'll have to adjust the position of those benches slightly, perhaps. Again, this is all part of the main entrance. At least those are. So we'll go here and gotta select my 3 colors, which I'm just going to double check on my note to make sure that these are the correct colors. Yes, they are. And excellent. So now if I come to, again, close to a bird's eye view, and maybe this is how I should have done this. Maybe I should be placing the lamppost, because it's a bit more critical where the lampposts are based on where these trees are, and maybe I should have placed the bins and benches sort of based on where I was putting the lampposts. So maybe I'll have to modify something, because right now I definitely want the lamppost sort of right here, because that's right in between those 2 trees. But if I put it right here, it's very obvious that both the bench and the bin are not aligned. So I'm definitely going to have to go back and modify where those benches are. And I'll do that, and then I'll put that away. And then I'm going to advance move this and move it just a little bit closer to the path. It's tall enough, you know, people aren't going to bang their heads when they stand up from the bench. Certainly I won't. So then I'll sort of move this over here so that it's similarly very close to the path. Slightly off. I think that's acceptable. And then, you know, as you can see, it's fairly centered between the gap between those 2 trees. I mean, the trees aren't perfect because I rotated them in different sort of directions. If I look at them from a distance, if I look at them from a distance and do the multi-select, I can now move these slightly, and I think I am going to sort of do this type of thing, make them pretty close. And I'm sort of looking, the bench isn't quite as off-centered as I initially thought it was, but I will go back and sort of modify those. So now what I can do is I can Control X and do our advanced duplicate and move. And I can move these lampposts. And I'm gonna put them about where I think they should be based on the trees, and I'll adjust the benches appropriately, because these need to be in the middle of the trees so that the trees aren't really interfering with them. And I think that right about there is sort of the right spot for those to be. Yeah, I think that looks I think that looks damn good, actually. So now if I go into first person and I'm looking down the main Midway, let's get out of that so I'm not highlighting everything. So now if I'm looking down the main Midway, I've got the sign here with the flowers, and then you can see some of the lampposts here, but they're very off in the distance. So you know, the labeling and everything that's on them isn't super obnoxious, I don't think. And if you sort of come down this main Midway here, you've got the benches with the light posts, and the light posts are lighting the trees in a very subtle but nice way. And then between these lights here in the middle and then these lights on the corners here, it's sort of lighting up this center plaza area, which I think looks quite nice. And then you've still got these lighting up the trees, and then you've got the lovely view of the carousel here. And I don't think there's a need for lampposts here. You know, perhaps maybe the next two is maybe we'll put ones there and sort of there, to be across, to sort of illuminate that, because you want this area illuminated a bit more because the path goes in multiple different directions here, and we don't have any buildings sort of providing any assistance as far as lighting goes. I don't really think we need a lamppost on either side there. I think maybe just having them on the corners will sort of be sufficient there. Yeah, so I think the building lighting combined with these lampposts and these locations is certainly enough for what we need. There's maybe maybe you could make an argument that I should move that light post and that light post to sort of be behind the bench. I think there's maybe an argument to do that, so maybe I will do that. Yeah, because it's just a little bit dark there. So let's what do we want to do? Let's do. We've got that selected and that selected, so we've got two. We'll do the advance, the duplicate and advance move. And we'll move these up to the corner, like so. And this is the problem, because now I've got things that I'm trying to align with two different grids, really. So we'll move this to be about there. Maybe we won't do that. Maybe I'll just do it this way, because I did it this way before when I placed these. So we'll put it there. And maybe there's an argument for centering this with the bench. I think maybe that's actually the better choice at this point. So let's center this with the bench instead. Let's get rid of that one. And then we'll do an advanced move on the duplicate, and we'll center it over our bench there. And is it interfering with the tree? No, but barely no. And that one actually is ever so slightly. So maybe what I'll do is maybe I'll cheat a little bit. Because I think that's the correct place to put these lampposts, sort of on the center there. Um, hmm. But because of the direction of walking, I think it actually makes sense to also have them rotated this way. So, do we have a lot of interference with the tree there? I mean, it's slight. Honestly, I think I can live with that, and maybe is there an opportunity to rotate my tree? This is sort of trimming the hedges, if you will. Can I rotate my tree in some sort of way? That's fine. I'm not overly concerned with how that looks, and I mean on this one, I think we actually benefit maybe a little bit from rotating it, to be quite honest. I think it actually fills in that gap nice, and there's no interference there. So I actually think that we benefit from it there, because now you've got this one facing that way, and you've got these sort of facing this way, and then you've got the lighting coming off of the carousel, so you've got the lighting this way, so you can sort of see things from two different angles. You know, and I think this just looks absolutely marvelous right now. The lighting in this area and down this midway, it's very well lit now, all the way around through all the walkways and everything. Yeah, I definitely think that these guys need to move though, almost for sure. So let's do that here at this point. The 30 degrees. The 30 degrees is about right. Let's make it 15 degrees and see if it'll look a little better. Yeah, it doesn't really look that much better. Yeah, unfortunately with snapping, we can't really get any better. Why don't we position it first? I think we'll position it first, and then we'll figure out what to do about the rotation. And let's get it very close to. If we're looking straight on from the bench, can we get it sort of centered up with that? And I think that it's pretty close. Almost had it. Yeah, I think that's the way to go right there. Yeah, and it's off the path a little bit further than I thought. Oh, it's really not though. I think it's okay, and what we'll do is we'll do the rotation. We'll do the rotation now, And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to snap the rotation on this to an angle that we're particularly happy with. Yeah, it's like somewhere in between 15 and 30. So I'm going to take angle snapping off and sort of do it this way. And I think that looks pretty good. I mean, we're pretty much straight on with the arms of the bench, and this is pretty much straight on here. If we were to align ourselves with it there, I think it looks pretty good. And then we can do this, and we can make it just a little bit closer. And I think that looks just as good. So now if I do the advanced duplicate and move, and I use the global axis, I should have the ability to slide this over and get it in very nearly the exact same location horizontal-wise, which is right about there. And what's interesting is that bench is just nowhere near centered there because of the way it sort of goes with the building and the way that the buildings sort of come off the path. It's very odd how I'm sort of confused by what I've done there. It's very odd because the path that goes into that shop is much closer there. But I think that's okay. I think we can do that, and we can adjust the bench accordingly. So I'm gonna leave that like that for now. I'm gonna delete this one. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into our sceneries, and we're going to do the bench. We're going to go back to, oh crap. See, now I can't recall which color I was using for the benches. I think it was that one. Let's go to our daytime real quick. Let's turn the daytime on. And let's see how close this is. Is that? That's the right green, but it's not the right brown. The brown, I think, would have been lighter. And actually, I think that might be the brown that we're looking for. Yeah, I think that's the correct brown. So we're gonna go with that. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to delete this one first and go back into this. And yes, it's not going to save my colors. But I've recently selected them now. So it's all good. Go for the green there. Let me just make sure now on these as well that it's the same. See, I'm not sure that is the same brown. I will check that offline once this episode ends, which is going to be very shortly. And actually, I think I'm going to need to trying to delete you. Oh, so apparently when you've got benches and things, the center click does not necessarily delete them. Interesting. So note that if you're playing along at home. So I've deleted the benches now. And I'm going to place the benches now so that they are centered with the light posts. Which probably would have been a better way of approaching that from the start. But wouldn't have known that until we sort of started to do it. See, it's like sort of snapping, but not quite. Like right there. See how it sort of jumps on me a little bit? It's interesting that it's doing that. But we'll go with it. I'm in first person, so we'll do this here. I'm not worried about the bin there necessarily. Not being perfectly centered. I'm okay with that because it's sort of on the angle bit. How about that? That looks good, and that, I mean, yeah, I think it sort of depends on the perspective that you're looking at there. So now let's spin around this way. And let's center up our benches on these lampposts as well. I mean, these ones were very nearly perfect anyways, but we'll get them centered up properly and using right mouse to sort of get right where I want to be. Cool. And we'll spin around this way. Place it like so. And that looks very good, and now everything looks much closer to centered. I should really modify the trash bins too, so that they're because I placed them based on where the benches were. So I should really do that pretty quickly. Although maybe I'll do that offline because I didn't make note of what colors the trash bins were, and they're going to be covered up, so I can't just modify them and check them real quick. Let's see, what did we want to do? Oh, we wanted to, of course, because I exited out of the bench. That's obviously what I need to do because I exited out of it. So I got to do the bench again. Just going to be that guy, and that guy. And actually, for the bins, I don't have the right colors anyway. Even in my recents, so I can't even go fetch them. Okay, so we're going to do that. There. So now we've got benches sort of in the same type of location there. So then the last order of business for these lampposts, I'll turn my nighttime back on because the nighttime looks incredible, is to make sure that these are sort of aligning with the bench and are orthogonal to the bench. So we'll do the, oh, what did you do that for? Edit. There we go. X, and then we've got snapping turned off, so we should be able to just get it where the bottom of the sign is very straight. That looks just about as good as I can get with the naked eye, and I'm quite happy with that. So now let's go back down to guest height and look sort of at our entrance Midway, and yeah, this is just looking absolutely fantastic right now. So let's do one other thing in this episode, so we can get one final look at it. I think I was worried, like I said, that having so many of these style lampposts were going to be complete overkill. And I think because of where I've placed them and the sort of the manner in which I've placed them, you can only see a handful of them at once. So even though there's lots of them here, they're giving off the subtle lighting. They're not very in your face. And the fact, again, that you can only see a couple of them at a time, I think, is real nice. Oh, I was gonna do the text all at once, but I guess with the multi-select you can't necessarily do that. So I'm gonna have to do them all individually, which I will do offline. Anyways, so offline I need to replace those two bins at the end, and I will add in our labels for the lights. So we're almost at 40 minutes. So rather than continue on with the lighting down these paths and sort of figuring out if there's anything extra I want to do as far as lighting goes, I think we'll pause here and we'll end this episode, and we'll continue the lighting of our main Midway, Blue Fir Boulevard, in the next episode. But I think the last couple episodes we've made some pretty good progress as far as the lighting and the benches and the bins and everything, and putting them in the right places. So I'm just trying to align and get you a very nice view of the park here. So we come in down out of our tunnel. We go past these lovely lampposts underneath the if I were going to first person, through this wonderful gate that we constructed at the very beginning of the series, underneath the large Evergreen Grove sign, underneath sort of this yellowy amber light that's lighting up our park entrance gates, and welcome to Evergreen Groves, with the beautiful light up sign with the flowers there, which we might have put some lighting on, the Grande Carousel out in the distance, and this very nice subtle yellowy lighting on our buildings and also on the trees here. This is just I'm really enthused, and I'm really sort of impressing myself with um, how much I like the way that all this looks. I'm really pleased with how this has come out so far. So hopefully you are as pleased with the park so far as I am. I know that I'm having a lot of fun doing this, and I really like how this is looking so far. So I will leave you with this beautiful view of Blue Fir Boulevard here in Evergreen Groves on Planet Coaster. I've been Danny Miller. Thanks for joining me, and we will see you in the next episode.